Hey everyone, and in this week's scoop, I'll update you on the news that we've been posting across our platforms over the last week. Let's start with the red card incident. And of course, I'm referring to the telephone call that Donald Trump made to his FIFA mate to overturn or suspend a red card against one of the American players. Now, the reason for this is obvious, or is it? And that is that the Don was nervous of the next match that the US was scheduled to play against Belgium, which they inevitably did lose at quite a healthy margin. But the reason I'm starting with this story is that it really points to the level of volatility and uncertainty in the world right now. If you think about if I'd phoned you on Sunday night or on the weekend and said that this is what's going to happen in the FIFA World Cup, you would have never believed me. This is kind of unprecedented, and yet it happened. And I guess that is a great summary phrase for 2026, and yet it happened. So this kind of volatility and uncertainty that is brewing in the world is a large part or a large theme of what we're seeing in our industry at this particular moment in time. As we now are well into the second half of the year, we're kind of looking back at the first half going, did that just happen? And if that could happen, what else could happen? And I guess we're seeing investment markets responding to that. And all we really want to know is when is the petrol price going down again? And how long is this ripple effect of or on CPI going to affect my bottom line? In other words, my family's household budget. Lots of articles on EBNet on our website about that. You can go to www.ebnet.co.za and read up about the practical implications of these over there conversations that are affecting what's happening in your purse over here. The week also started with the Conduct Authority publishing their latest 3-year supervisory plan, and that is for the year 2026 to 2029. And a lot of that is focused on COFI. And before you kind of all wrap it in a neat box of COFI, don't forget that COFI is very wide and far reaching. So you may think, meh, COFI, I don't need to read it. You need to read the regulatory plan, and you obviously do need to read COFI as well. And no, I still don't have an updated version, but thank you for keeping your requests coming. I will share it on our platforms as soon as it is produced and published. So back to COFI. So COFI is a large part of where the regulator will be focusing their attention over the coming years. And the other part or point I wanted to make was this conversation that is, I don't want to say evolving because it hasn't just started, but the ongoing conversation around sustainable impact or sustainable finance and ESG disclosures, because this is specifically mentioned in the FSCA's regulatory plan. And it links into this week's episode of Heatwave Horizons, which is kindly brought to you by Sanlam, where we host the Conduct Authority together with the chair of a large commercially sponsored umbrella fund and discuss the regulatory impacts or the regulatory compass on climate change and where the industry or the supervisors will be focusing intent and monitoring how pension funds and other financial institutions will be getting behind climate change and ESG and sustainable investing. So go check out that episode of Heatwave Horizons. It is on www.ebnet.co.za. And speaking of EBNet Stream, we have published some great content on that channel, in fact, every day this week. We started off the week by looking at living markets with Liberty, where, of course, Leon chats to a representative from Liberty, and this week it was Avikar Samaru, or this month it was with Avikar, and the conversation ended up in an age-old one of active versus passive. Now, is it something you've heard before? I'm not sure you have heard it in this particular context, so go check that out. And it linked to an article that, in fact, we published that day as well, where Prescient talks about autopilot versus co-pilot. And so are we dealing with active versus passive, or are we dealing with AI versus passive? And that is an interesting conversation that I'm sure is going to unfold over the coming months and years. So that was our Living Markets with Liberty monthly episode. Excuse me. We also published the latest episode of Inside Private Markets. Now, this is one where Leon chats to some pretty senior people around the opportunity that private markets present for sustainable and impact investing. Now, let's link it all together. We know that the FSCA 3-year regulatory plan is going to require from institutional investors to deepen their disclosures around impact and infrastructure investing. We know that trustees are grappling with this right now. We also know through last week's Sanlam benchmark survey that a large portion of funds are saying that they are not progressing their ESG or impact investing conversation because their advisors are not helping them do that. And so we end up at a point where Inside Private Markets exposes the opportunities and looks at how private markets are there to assist institutional and other investors further this imperative of impact and infrastructure investing. It's a great episode. Go check it out.
Hiya pals, greetings from Sammy. EBNet is proud to bring you top quality content from experts across the financial services industry in South Africa and internationally for free. Your support helps us in doing this. All we ask is that you subscribe to our channel by clicking the subscribe button below, share this video with others you think will benefit from it, and give us a thumbs up if you are enjoying the content. That way you help us help you. Thank you from the team at EBNet. For more great content, please visit www.ebnet.co.za. Ciao, ciao, and bye-bye.
And speaking of great episodes, our industry insights, which we dropped on Wednesday, is with Michelle Acton from Old Mutual, where she shares some of the research that Old Mutual has surfaced when interviewing or chatting to or interacting with 35,000 of their members who have accessed a savings pot benefit. The insights from that are not what you might assume. And I'm going to give a small spoiler alert here. Michelle's comment around in a couple of years' time, their institutional funds will in fact be a majority of paid up members kind of really got me thinking around, jeepers, funds are starting to change what they're going to look like. And there's a definite evolution into a more retail type of structure in institutional funds. Go and have a listen to that. It will challenge your thinking on Two-Pot. I know you think you know what Two-Pot is about and what members are using their savings withdrawal benefits for, but this is definitely going to shine a spotlight on some areas that you perhaps haven't even thought of yet. So that's my conversation with Michelle Acton. This morning, we've dropped our exec meet and greet episode. That is with Christine du Toit, who is a director, the newest director, in fact, at SALT Employee Benefits. Christine is also, in addition to being a very passionate individual around finance and helping people understand their finances, she's also a coach. And I tapped into some of those insights that she represented to us and discussed careers and really humaning and growing a career in the current world. So go and check that out with Christine. She shares her insights. She shares her experience and her knowledge around growing yourself and presenting yourself and showing up in the current work world. The other very interesting piece of content that got a number of clicks was the latest decision coming out of the pension funds adjudicator. And this is an instance where an employee faked their credentials based on that faked let's call it professional designation. The employer paid that individual a certain salary. And when it all came to light and was surfaced that the individual had in fact lied, this dishonesty led the employer to request that the retirement fund withhold the individual's pension fund payout based on a Section 37D deduction. Now, Lebogang Mogashwa, the current pension funds adjudicator, weighs in on this, and I do suggest you go and read up about it. It is something, honestly, that I had never, ever thought of. And it is an interesting balance and weighing of, I want to say evidence, but it's not evidence, weighing of the facts, or weighing of the factors that lead a board and a fund to withhold benefits in terms of 37D, which for me, I know is a tough one. 37C is bad, 37D is just as bad, and I don't think gets nearly enough airtime. So a great piece of information dropped there by the pension funds adjudicator, which I know will inform your 37D policies. The webinars which are coming up, I know you guys really do enjoy them. The next one coming up is on the 23rd of July. That is on unclaimed benefits. I'm happy to report that we have both the FSCA and National Treasury in on that webinar, and I'm looking forward to exploring unclaimed benefits in the light of the new unclaimed benefits discussion paper that NT will be dropping soon, and hopefully surfacing some new insights into this age-old problem, because the reality is we're not going to solve it using, theories and thinking and processes and tracing that we have used in the past. So this stalemate needs to be broken, and I'm hoping to surface some of that conversation in this webinar, 23 July at 9 a.m. Go register on our website. And following that, early in August, we have the Great Green Hoax. And is there really climate change, or is it Donald Trump's fictitious delusions? Let's just call it that. So Leon will be running that podcast, where he will look at climate change. It does link into our podcast series on Heatwave Horizons, but Leon will be surfacing this hoax, or is it, or this narrative around climate change, and is it real? So you can go register for that already on our website, and that is happening on the 12th of August. So some fun things to look forward to. In the meantime, we are deep into production of some new podcast series, which will deal with a lot of the research that is being surfaced currently and has been surfaced by the Sanlam Benchmark Survey. I'm not going to tell you more than that, but there's a lot of good stuff on EBNet this week. Whether you're talking about your annuity strategies, or whether you're talking about disclosures, or what's happening at the latest conferences, or what's happening at the pension funds adjudicator, you can go and check that out. Until next week, I'll see you then.